One Piece chapter 1056 just dropped, and honestly, I had a different introduction for this video, but it wasn't upon writing the script that I didn't realize just how crazy this chapter was. So without further ado, let's get to it. Hello and welcome to Big News, where we bring you the latest scoop on all things One Piece. So starting with the cover page, I actually didn't even realize just how long it had been since we got the last cover story update, but between special covers and the month-long breaks, it's actually been nearly 2 whole months since we got the last one. But as it turns out, this is definitely a win for the fan base, because even though he's not doing much right now, and even though the Vince Smokes will probably escape by the end of it all, this is our first time seeing Katakuri since he lost against Luffy. Now, my hope for this cover story is that this is possibly all happening during the raid in Onigashima, because that means that potentially it will result in Katakuri heading out to sea after he finding out what happened with Big Mom. Because truth be told, I think this is the best way to let his character's reputation remain intact by actually defeating the Vince Smokes first, but having to leave for urgent matters, allowing the Vince Smokes the perfect opportunity to escape and giving us the perfect way to reintroduce Katakuri into the story, or at least give him more screen time in what remains of the cover story. But again, this is just my hope. It can go in a completely different direction, but we'll see. So we start off the chapter with Raizo and Shinobu being treated from Green Bull's attack. And I have to say, this seems a little bit off for me. It seems like Oda might have forgotten last chapter that he intended this for Shinobu, because as soon as I saw this, I reread chapter 1055, and Shinobu is almost completely absent from it. She actually only appears in 2 instances. The first being while all of the scabbards in her are jumping towards Green Bull, right? And the second one being right after Momo's Borrow Breath, where she was wrapped around the vine just like everyone else. But the problem here being, we get to see this whole section in its entirety. And before Green Bull does anything, Momo releases the Borrow Breath, and Green Bull literally just drops everyone right that moment. And after that point, he doesn't attack anyone for the remainder of the chapter. And at the point that he has Shinobu wrapped up, he hadn't pierced her. From what we can tell, this is what's needed to suck the nutrients so far. Plus, even if he did, we see her the exact same. And then out of nowhere in this chapter, she's affected in the same way that Raizo was. So I don't know, but this seems a little bit odd to me. It might be one of those very rare cases of Oda being inconsistent. It's not a big deal, but I thought that it was worth pointing out. Anyways, as you're getting treated, we do see the scabbards recognizing that there is some truth to what Green Bull said earlier, with the whole Kaido being the reason why enemies never came to Wano. And I kinda like this, because it adds weight to things not necessarily being as black and white as they seem to be, and it adds nuance to Kaido's characters and his reasoning for being in Wano, right? It might have been just for his own personal agenda at the end of the day, but we do still have room to speculate on whether there's more to Kaido that meets the eye. And there definitely is, right? We also get to see the reason why Kinemon wasn't present in the fight versus Green Bull, and that's because he was with Suru, and he genuinely feels sorry for not being there with them. But we also get another bit about Suru's face being burned, with the whole burning of Okaburo Town and all that, but I'm not going to comment much on that because I don't think there's anything worth speculating or commenting on here. It is nice to see consequences to Kaido's action, but at the end of the day, this is just one of those things that we can glance over because it has no impact or implications in the story, right? Moving on to the next scene, we get to see Carrot enjoying the festivity meals as she was summoned by Inuarayashi and Nekomamushi, who tell her that they are staying behind in Wano to be retainers for Mononosuke, and they are leaving her to rule over the Minks. To which, unlike most fans, Carrot is shockingly surprised and hesitant about the idea because she feels unqualified. However, I would like to say that there is a big portion of the fanbase that actually predicted that this was going to be Carrot's ultimate fate if she did not join the Straw Hats, which at this point I do believe it's almost completely confirmed that she's not going to be a Straw Hat due to the lack of any major role during this arc and her minimal interactions with the Straw Hats as well, right? And I have to say, I am a fan of this idea significantly more than I am a fan of her joining the Straw Hats crew, because I just personally don't see it. We continue with the next scene. We see Sukiyaki revealing his true identity to Momo and Hiyori, which is Look, I don't want to say that it's shocking because we all knew that this needed to happen sooner or later, because there is definitely knowledge that he needs to impart onto Momo and Hiyori, more so Momo as a new shogun, but I just didn't expect it to be this incredibly fast, and it seems like this change of heart came out of nowhere. In other words, it was off-screen. But to me, it is actually welcomed, because this is the kind of thing that I am actually okay with Oda telling rather than showing, because showing would require way too much screen time and setup, and this is the type of thing that I just don't want to sit on for too long. I just want to get to the end of it, so it is indeed better to simply just get it out of the way. I did find particularly funny how all of the scabbards had caught on, except obviously for none other than Kinemon, who never had any idea, and is once again making just an absolutely golden face. And just like me, I'm sure pretty much everyone was reminded of that one scene where he got the rendezvous point wrong, and that ended up in Orochi sabotaging the incorrect plan, and people thought that Kinemon was a mastermind. This face really reminds me of that moment, right? But Sukiyaki is about to impart some knowledge unto all of them before we cut to the next scene. And my personal guess is that this isn't some kind of secret that Oda is going to reveal later on, but rather he is telling the scabbards, Momo and Hiyori, about everything that he just finished telling Robin and Law about the borders being closed, how they're going to be open, and what the results and implications of that are. So next up, we have the Straw Hats discussing the existence of Pluton and Wano, and Luffy just isn't interested, as it is to be expected from our carefree rubber sun boy. But what intrigues me is that once again, Robin is mentioning that she cannot help but to wonder why Oden would want to release something like this. This is already 2 chapters in a row that Oda makes this point very specific, so he obviously wants us to think about it, but I won't be commenting too much on this right now, since I do have a video planned for this one specific topic, and I hope to be releasing that somewhere over the course of next month. We also get to see Shinobu back on her feet though, and because of Green Bull's attack, she's back to being slim and beautiful like she used to be, which now makes me wonder, what does Raizo look like? But right now she's being accompanied by Tama, whom she has taken as an apprentice, and I have to say, Tama looks absolutely adorable in ninja attire. She asks Luffy if she can take her with him next time they meet, to which Luffy agrees if she can master ninjutsu, which to me, the biggest implication here isn't about this promise eventually coming to fruition, and it isn't even about, death flags for Luffy, but rather this seems to set up Tama being one of the characters present during the final war, where we will probably be going to see her as a fully fledged ninja. We close off this scene with Caribou eavesdropping into the conversation, and to no one's surprise, finding out about Pluton being in Wano. He does mention that he has to report this to that person, and even though most people will probably say it's Blackbeard, I don't believe so personally, because if Caribou has been reporting to Blackbeard, there is almost no way that he hasn't kidnapped Shirahoshi yet. However, this could potentially be what Blackbeard was referring to when he said that he might as well claim it if the world government won't. If that is the case, if next time we follow Blackbeard, if he's after Shirahoshi, then I am of the strong belief that Caribou is reporting to him. But if he's not, then I just can't picture Blackbeard immediately taking action, right? Aside from this particular idea, I think that the only people that could cross my mind are either Crocodile or Buggy or maybe CP0 or someone affiliated with the world government. However, I don't have much basis for this. The following day, Momo is out looking for the Straw Hats only to find the room empty, and he starts running around the castle calling each and every single one of the Straw Hats members by name, and of course, you know it, Yamato. Not Law, not Carrot, or any other The Alliance members, but Yamato, which to me seems to further solidify Yamato as a member of the Straw Hats, but more on that later. It turns out that the crew left earlier that morning and has said their farewells to everyone except Mononosuke and Kinemon, which is a very Straw Hat thing to do, and which I think all this does is simply set up for a double page spread of Mononosuke arriving to say his farewells in dragon form, which I can already imagine going in so many different ways, and I think that would be such a beautiful double page spread. We then see Law, Luffy, and Kid over at the ships bickering over which destination to go to next. But because the alliance is over, Law states that they're going their separate ways. And I'll be honest, as much as I absolutely adore Law, I think that it's time that we just get some good old-fashioned focus on only the Straw Hats. So this is more than welcome for me, especially considering that they will most likely meet up and travel together at the end when they head over to Laughdale. I genuinely love this. Again, I love Law as a character, but I think that him traveling with the Straw Hats permanently until the end of the story is a little bit too much, because it takes away screen time and focus from the other members of the crew to shine. Because obviously Luffy, like Oda, my bad, not Luffy, Oda's not gonna have Law traveling with the Straw Hats, but give Zoro a more important fight than him, or give Sanji a more important fight than him. So him traveling with the Straw Hats could be of the detriment to the character writing for the crew members. So I do welcome this change of pace. I also loved Kid and Luffy arguing about going in the same direction, and Luffy complaining that he lost the bet despite being a Yonko, which is just rubbing salt on the wound for Kid. However, what is interesting to me about this is Kid actually admitting that he recognizes Luffy as a Yonko, and that doesn't bother him, but rather what really bothers him is Buggy being considered a Yonko, whom, by the way, is now officially confirmed to be working alongside the likes of Mihawk and Crocodile, and the world government considers Buggy to be the mastermind of this operation, which goes by the name of Cross Guild. And I do find it hilarious that even Luffy's calling Buggy an idiot, wondering how the hell he got to this point and managed to get those two to work quote unquote for him. I'm not going to comment on this too much, because Buggy being the leader, we do understand as fans that this is just a gag, that Crocodile and Mihawk definitely don't view Buggy as superior, so I don't think there's much to comment on this. Everyone knows what I would say on the topic, so we're moving on. And as viewers, we do understand that Crocodile and Mihawk definitely have their own agendas. However, I am incredibly hyped for the return of Crocodile to the story. And by the way, shout out to Joy Girl for hitting it right on the nail by saying that Crocodile would be joining up with Buggy, and this is how he will be reintroduced to the story. And also BDA Law and Mr. Morge for calling that Mihawk would join Buggy as well. Link to their channels will be in the description down below. Now, the thing that has me more hyped is Buggy's big brain play of putting a bounty on the subscribe button.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
I'm just playing with y'all. Do click that subscribe button though, drop a like, turn on the notifications. We got chapter reviews every Friday morning and new topical videos every Monday. Do help me get to next year's Reverie. That is my personal goal, sitting there and talking about all things One Piece with such a fantastic community. And together we could make that happen. But we're moving on though, because this is definitely the second highest point of the chapter for me. Because Buggy has just put bounties on the heads of Marine soldiers, and guys, the implications for this are huge. Like, just imagine the kind of bounties that the admirals are going to have. This probably means that we're going to start seeing the Marines more in action, which I think is very needed. Heck, we might even get to see Kobe in a serious action thanks to this. Greenbow was not playing when he said that the outside world is currently a mess, and I'm absolutely here for it. I plan on making yet another video on this topic, so we'll delve more into this next week. Law then gives Kid a copy of the Road Poneglyph and starts acting all tsundere. Like, it's not like it will be fun to compete for the One Piece if I'm too far ahead. It's not like we're friends or anything, baka. However, Kids and Killer's reaction to having this Road Poneglyph and now taking the competition for the One Piece seriously is interesting. They're talking about looking for the man with a burned scar, and Luffy wants to know, Law is intrigued, and even Robin's intrigued, but Kid refuses to give them a response, which is both smart and interesting. Now, even though we have no basis to start speculating for any character besides Aokiji based on the burned scar, this kind of setup, when it comes to Oda, it's never made for a character we already know. So I highly doubt that. My best bet is that this is for Scopper Gaban, because at this point, it's high time that he's introduced to the series. And maybe the burnt scars are in the eyes, which would explain the shades that he's always seen with. But I do recognize that this is just a speculation, because I have no real basis for it. However, I do feel like this is one of those if it's not now then when kind of things. Because I don't think we're going to get through the whole story of One Piece without meeting Scopper, but at the final war, it's too late for him to make an entry. So this has to be the time for him to make an entrance over the next 2 arcs. It has to be him. Maybe this is not him, but he's definitely coming right around the corner. And especially the fact that this is someone that could help Kid with the road poneglyphs gives an inclination that it could be him, since Roger's crew did find all of them and did go to Laugh Tale. We finally get to the last scene of the chapter, where we see Yamato on the rooftop of the castle as she declares that she has decided to go and join the Straw Hats. Now, I personally think that she will probably arrive riding on Momonosuke's back while he's in dragon form, setting up a rather legendary entry into the crew. And as I said earlier, a beautiful panel that I can already picture in my head. I know and I understand why some people think that Yamato might not join the crew, but to be honest, when I look at One Piece as a story and its themes of freedoms and dream, and then I lay those same themes and ideals next to Yamato's character and backstory, I honestly see no other satisfying conclusion to Yamato's story, because people keep bringing up that she wants to be Odin, and that Odin's mistake was not saying in Wano, so that Yamato therefore should learn from Odin's mistake if she wants to be, like Odin or greater than him. But Yamato doesn't literally want to be Odin. And that's where people get confused, because she does refer to herself as Odin, and she has said that I want to be Odin, but she does specify that she wants to live like Odin. And Odin's way of life, Odin's way of living was freedom and adventure. Yamato has to go with the Straw Hats. But ladies and gentlemen, this is it. Even though this chapter doesn't give us a final cemented answer, I am of the strong belief that next chapter we will get confirmation finally on whether Yamato is joining the Straw Hat crew or not. However, the part that has me just going off the rails is that there is a break next week. But that's all for this week. Next week we'll have 2 topical videos instead of 1, since it is a break week, and I'll catch you guys later. Until next time, take care.